tefillin. Today's daf, Be'ezras Hashem, is Masechta Menachos, number 36, Lamed Vav. And today's daf, we continue with the discussion of the tefillin. And today's daf is pretty straightforward halachas that you might be or might not be familiar with. Amar Rav Shmuel bar Birdi, we're starting from Lamed Hey Amud Beis, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines from the bottom, 8 lines. Amar Rav Shmuel bar Birdi Amar Rav. Rav Shmuel bar Birdi said in the name of Rav. Va'amila, others say Amar Rav Acha Aricha Amar Rav Huna. It was Rav Huna who said the following statement. Amar La, and others say Amar Rav Menachos Amar Shmuel. That Shmuel said the following statement. So the tefillin me'emasai mevarach aleha. When should you make the bracha al haniach tefillin? When? So the Gemara answers, Mishas hanachasun. After you put them on already, while they're on your arm and while they're on your head, then you make a bracha. Says the Gemara, how could that be true? Eini va'amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Rav Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel, Kol hamitzvahs kulan mevarach alein oiver la'asiyasan. All the mitzvahs, all the brachas you should make prior, right before you're doing the mitzvah. That's what oiver la'asiyasan, right before you're doing the mitzvah. So how could you say that after you put on the tefillin, then you should make the bracha? Just tell Lewis. Hi, Lewis. We just began. We're on Lamed Hey Amud Beis, 2 lines from the bottom. So the Gemara is discussing when do you make the bracha of the tefillin, when you put it on. When do you make the bracha? So the Gemara says, 2 lines from the bottom, Abaya v'Rava, the Amru Tavayu, Mishas hanocha v'achas kshira. Once you place it down on your arm or on your head, until you tie it, that's when you're supposed to make the bracha. Until you tie it. Now, this doesn't mean, now, if you read the Gemara literally, you probably would have to tie, make a new knot every day when you put your tefillin on. So that was the opinion of Rabbeinu Eliyahu on Tosfos that says that the Gemara says you have to tie it every day. We know that it's a very hard skill to learn. It's not a hard skill, but it takes time to learn the skill of tying the tefillin, to adjusting it. So what it means is until you fix the tefillin in place, that's when you break the bracha. So you put the tefillin semi where it's supposed to be, then you make the bracha, and then you fix it into place. And that's the halacha. Now we go to Lamed Vav and Aleph. How many brachas do you make? So here is a surprising Gemara, and that you might not be aware of it, but some people, if you read the Gemara literally, you make only 1 bracha on tefillin. Amar Rav Chizda says, Sach bein tefillah letefillah. If you spoke between the tefillin shel yad and tefillin shel rosh, let's say Hi, Sheldon. We just began, and that's
okay. Thank you.
We're up to the top of the page over here.
Okay.
Lamed Vav, Menachos. Amar Rav Chizda, Sach bein tefillah letefillah. Rav Chizda said a new topic. If someone spoke out between putting on the tefillin shel yad and the tefillin shel rosh, right? So then choyze u'mavarach. So then he has to repeat the bracha. That's what choyze u'mavarach means. He repeats the bracha. So in other words, technically, you're supposed to make 1 bracha for the tefillin shel yad and tefillin shel rosh. And if you spoke out, then you have to repeat the bracha that you made on the tefillin shel yad. So the Gemara asks the question, sach en, only if you speak out, you make 2 brachas, loy sach loy, but if you don't speak out anything, you don't make 2 brachas. It was said over in the name of Rav Yochanan, al tefillin shel yad, if you're putting on the tefillin shel yad, you make Baruch Hashem K'disharim b'mitzvayso v'tzivanu l'aniach tefillin. And al tefillin shel rosh, but on the tefillin of the rosh, you say Baruch Hashem K'disharim b'mitzvayso v'tzivanu al mitzvahs tefillin. So it's in, and Rabbi Yochanan didn't say anything about speaking. So you can infer from the Rabbi Yochanan's words that you always have to make 2 brachas when you put on the tefillin. So the Gemara says, not so. Abaya v'Rava the Amru Tarvaya. Abaya and Rava both say loisach. If you don't speak out, means that if you keep quiet, say mevarachachas, then you make 1 bracha. Sach, but if you do speak out, Then mevarach shtayim. Then you make another bracha mitzvahs tefillin for tefillin shel rosh. So, and then Tana, we learned in a brisa, soch ben tefillah letefillah. If a person's interrupted with speech between the tefillin shel yad and the tefillin shel rosh, and did not make a new bracha, he did not make a new bracha. He just kept going. So he only made one bracha, despite the fact that he spoke between the tefillin shel yad and tefillin shel rosh. Avera he biyadai, he gets an avera, and the chayzer lem ercham elchama. You're disqualified from being in the army of the Jewish people. In other words, they always chose, people who had Yiras Shamayim, tzaddikim, people who don't do averas. So if someone did this avera of speaking between the tefillin shel yad and tefillin shel rosh and did not make a new bracha, then it's an avera, and he's not considered fit, so to speak, to be in the army. So, but when you read this Gemara straight up, the way Rashi read it, it seems to imply that really, technically, you're supposed to only make one bracha laniach tefillin, and that's it. It's only if you happen to speak, you shouldn't be speaking, but if you happen to speak between the tefillin sheyad and the tefillin sherosh, then you make al mitzvahs tefillin. So it comes out that they only established this mitzvahs tefillin only because you did an avera of speaking. So that's very strange. They would establish a whole brand new bracha only if in case somebody speaks. So that's why Rashi is a little bit difficult, and Tosfos did not like Rashi's interpretation, and he has a whole new interpretation of this piece of Gemara, which is what we do. We always make two brachas. When you put the tefillin shel yad, you make them laniach tefillin. Then you make al mitzvahs tefillin when you put the tefillin shel rosh. But since Rashi did not agree that you should always make the al mitzvahs tefillin, so we make the bracha and then we say Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusai L'Olam Va'ed, as if we weren't really supposed to make that bracha.
Don't Sfardim only make the first bracha?
I guess so.
I think Sfardim only make the
laniach.
Right? Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, I could attest to that. My son-in-law is Sephardic. If you want to one bracha.
Yeah.
One bracha.
Yeah.
Because but the way the Rabbeinu Tam learned the Gemara of Soch Mevarach Achas, Loy Soch Mevarach Achas means if you don't speak, then you make one bracha for the Shel Yad and one bracha for Shel Rosh. But when you speak, that's what the Gemara means. You repeat both brachas when you put on the Shel Rosh. That's what Mevarach Shtayim means. You'll repeat the bracha L'Haniach and Al Mitzvahs Tefillin. So that's the way Rabbeinu Tam learned. So really, you're supposed to make two brachas, but again, that's the way Rabbeinu Tam. But Rashi learned, I guess, and the way the Sfardim put it on, I guess, is that they only make one bracha, because that's the literal interpretation of this Gemara. Tana, we learned in a brisa, Kishuhu Maniach, when you put your tefillin, Maniach shel yad v'achakach maniach shel rosh. First, you put the shel yad, that we do, and then you put the tefillin shel rosh. Ukushu chaylis, when you remove the tefillin, chaylit shel rosh, you remove the shel rosh first, v'achakach chaylit shel yad, then you take off the tefillin shel yad. So the Gemara wants to understand what's the source. Bishlam kshu maniach, when you're putting on the tefillin, maniach shel yad v'achakach maniach shel rosh. First, you put the tefillin shel yad, and then you put the tefillin shel rosh, the ksiv, because the pasuk gives you the order. Put the first the tefillin shel yad, v'hadar v'hayu taytev hois beinenecha. Then you put the tefillin shel rosh. Ela kishu chayletz, when you're removing tefillin, chayletz shel rosh v'achakach chayletz shel yad. You first remove the tefillin shel rosh, and then you take the tefillin shel yad. Menolan, how do you know that to be true? Amar Rabba, Amar Rav Huna Asberli. Rav Huna explained it to me. Amakra, the pasuk said, "V'hayu, they will be." V'hayu means they will be. So that's a plural. That's like a minimum two. The taitavais beinenecha. That's going to be like an ornament between your eyes. Well, you're only wearing a tefillin shel rosh. So, but v'hayu means when you put on the tefillin shel rosh, you're going to have two things on you. One on your arm and one on your head. So we see Kol Zman Shebein Einecha, as long as you're wearing tefillin shel rosh, Yushtayim, that's when you have two. So therefore, you don't take off the tefillin shel yad, because then you're going to only have the tefillin shel rosh. And the Torah tells you that when you have the tefillin shel rosh, you should be wearing two tefillins. So therefore, you remove the tefillin shel rosh first, and then you remove the tefillin shel yad. If you could read this Gemara literally, let's say during the war, sometimes in the camps, they only had one tefillin. If they only had the tefillin shel rosh, would they put it on? Because it says that as long as you have the tefillin shel rosh, you have to have the tefillin shel yad. So I'm not sure, but maybe it's a smachta. But that's the halacha. You first take off the tefillin shel rosh, and then you take off the tefillin shel yad. Nu Gemara, Tanu Rabbanan. Tefillin me'in l'say mevarach aleim. When you're wearing the tefillin, when should you make the bracha? So mishas hanochasan, when you're first allowed to put them on. So, for example, ketzad, because ketzad. What's the case of the Brisa talking about? Hoya mashkim lotzis l'derech. A person got up, let's say, middle of the night, 3:00 in the morning, and he's traveling, and he doesn't want to hold on to his tefillin in his hands because of misyarei shem yavdu. He's afraid that it'll be lost. So manicha, you could put them on. When, let's say, the time to put tefillin on, which is before sunrise. It's sunrise when it's the zman krishma, when you can see your friend from a distance. So then the tefillin is already on you. You should feel around by your tefillin. Let's say move it off its designated space and then put it back. Then you make the bracha. So that's the halacha of somebody who started putting the tefillin on too early. Until how long could you wear your tefillin? So the Gemara says, the Tanna Kama holds only during the daytime, till sunset, and then you have to take your tefillin off. Rabbi Yaakov holds you're allowed to wear your tefillin at night, but until the time that there's people stop walking in the street. I don't know how that could be, like 30 minutes after it gets dark or something like that. When people stop walking in the street, that means it's like the same time of Hanukkah. You gotta take your tefillin off. The Chachamim say Adzman Shena, until you go ready to go to sleep, till 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, then you could wear your tefillin. Both Rabbi Yaakov and the Chachamim both hold that you're allowed to wear your tefillin at night. But Rabbi Yaakov said take it off early in the evening because we're afraid you're going to fall asleep. You're going to fall asleep early in the evening with your tefillin on. And that's no good because that's b'zoyin for the tefillin. So therefore, take it off early in the evening. The Chacham says, no, you could wait till you're actually ready to get into bed, then you take the tefillin off. But both Rabbi Yaakov and Chacham hold that tefillin could be worn at night, whereas the Tanna Kama holds that it could only be worn during the daytime. Umaydim Chachamim v'Rab Yaakov, it should say, Chachamim and Rabbi Yaakov both agree that although they say that you could wear your tefillin at night, let's say like 5 o'clock in the afternoon today, if you took your tefillin off to go to the restroom, or go to the bathhouse, and the sun set, then don't put it back on. And once you already took it off and it's nighttime, don't put it on now. So what is the halacha? Can you wear the tefillin? Can you wear tefillin at night? Omar Rav Nachman says halacha ka Rabbi Yaakov. The halacha is like Rabbi Yaakov that you could wear tefillin at night, and that's and here some Amoraim did wear their tefillin at night. Rav Chizda, Rabba Bar Huda, Matzlibu Ba'orte. They would daven Mariv with their tefillin on. So we see they wore tefillin at night. Ikadi Amri. Others say Rav Nachman said Ein halacha Rabbi Yaakov. The halacha is not like Rabbi Yaakov. You could only wear tefillin during the daytime. We go to Amid Beis. Says the Gemara, but Rav Chizda, Rabba Bar Huna, but Rav Chizda, Rabba Bar Huna wore their tefillin at night, and Rav Nachman said that we don't paskin like Rabbi Yaakov. Answers the Gemara, right? Hahu pligi. These Amoraim argued on Rav Nachman. They held that you could wear your tefillin at night. You could wear your tefillin at night. Says the Gemara, Umi Omar Rabba Bar Huna Hachi. Did Rabba Bar Huna say so? Rabba Bar Huna said, Safek chashecha, safek loy chashecha. You just told me that Rabbi Bar Huna said that you could wear your tefillin at night. But listen to what Rabbi Bar Huna said. Safek chashecha, safek loy chashecha. If it's twilight, you're not sure if it's dark or not. Loy choylitz, you don't have to take your tefillin off. V'loy maniach, but don't put it on. Ha vaday chashecha. But if you know for a fact it's after tzeisak kachavim choylitz, you have to take off your tefillin. So how could you say that Rabbi Bar Chuzda said you could wear your tefillin at night? Answers the Gemara, Hosam be'erev Shabbos itmar. That was talking about Friday night. On Friday night, even Rabbi Bar Huna holds that although you could wear your tefillin every night, but on Friday night, you got to take it off. So the Gemara says, so that means that every night you could wear your tefillin, but not Shabbos. So my kasavar, what is the opinion of Rabbi Bar Huna? If he holds that you could wear tefillin at night, Shabbos nami zman tefillin, then on Shabbos you could also wear your tefillin, right? Because they both learn from the same pasuk. We're going to see that in a second. Shabbos labs man tefillin. If Rabbi Rav Huna holds that you can't wear your tefillin on Shabbos, then Laila nami labs man tefillin. Then they shouldn't hold that you could wear your tefillin during nighttime. Once the mehecha the mamate Shabbos bahasa mamate leilas from the same pasuk that says don't wear your tefillin on Shabbos also says don't wear your tefillin during the nighttime, only daytime. The Tanya we learned in the Brisa. Now everything will become clear. In the parsha of tefillin, it talks about the carbon Pesach, and the Torah tells you, watch this statute, keep this statute for during the Moed, during the specific times, miyamim yamima, from days to days, from your days to days. So we darshan, it's also referring to tefillin, not just the carbon Pesach, but also it's a halacha in tefillin, which it tells you yamim v'loy leilos, that you should only wear your tefillin during the daytime and not nighttime. Miyamim, from most days, v'loy kol yamin, don't wear your tefillin every day. Prat l'shabbos of yamin tovim, divrei Rabbi Yossi Aglili. This excludes Shabbos and Yom Tov. From Shabbos and Yom Tov, you don't wear your tefillin. That's the opinion of Rabbi Yossi Aglili. So we see that if Rabbi Bar Huna and Rav Chizda both agreed to Rabbi Yossi Aglili, they would hold that you don't wear your tefillin on Shabbos and you don't wear your tefillin during the daytime. Only during the daytime, you don't wear it at nighttime. So they're not like Rabbi Yossi Aglili. And Rabbi Kiva Omer, lo nema chukuzu ela Pesach bavad. This pasuk is only talking about carbon Pesach, but it's nothing to do with tefillin. It seems that according to Rabbi Akiva, you should wear your tefillin on Shabbos. So if Rabbi Bar Huna held like Rabbi Akiva that you could wear your tefillin at night, then they should also hold that you could wear your tefillin on Shabbos. Answers the Gemara, no. Even Rabbi Akiva, who holds you could wear your tefillin at night, holds you don't wear your tefillin on Shabbos. Nafkale mehechet and nafkale Rabbi Akiva, because there's another pasuk where Rabbi Akiva derived that you don't wear your tefillin on Shabbos. There's another pasuk, and it has nothing to do with daytime or nighttime. The Tanya we learned in a brayso. Rabbi Akiva says, "Yachol yaniach adam tefillin b'shabbos uv'yamim tovim." I would have thought that a person could put his tefillin on Shabbos and Yom Tov. Talmud Bavli the pasuk says, that tefillin has to be that sign that you're connected to the Eibishter, right? That's the ois, the sign. Only the days that you need to remind yourself, you need a sign to wear that you're connected to God. That Shabbos and Yom Tov is an ois. Ois hi b'nei b'nei Yisrael, right? Shabbos is a ois, is a sign. So therefore, you don't need another ois of wearing your tefillin on Shabbos. So right. So that's where. So Rabbi Kiva has a source that you don't put the tefillin on Shabbos. So on Shabbos you don't put the tefillin, but at nighttime you could put your tefillin on. Concludes the Gemara. Amba Rabbi Laza, Kol hamaniach tefillin achashkiyas akama. If you put your tefillin on after sunset, so Rabbi Laza holds that you should only wear your tefillin during the daytime, not at nighttime. But it's probably like maybe a drabanan. If you're going to wear your tefillin at nighttime, you get an avera, a mitzvah saseh. You transgress the mitzvah saseh. Rabbi Yochanan says, Oiva balav, you get a lois saseh. So what does it mean? Because it's pasuk says, V'shamarta as chuka azois l'biyadam yomi umima, and it says shamar, be very careful, only wear it during the daytime, because they learn like Rabbi Yossi Aglili. So what's the machlokes? What does the word hishamar mean? Is hishamar like an essay? That means you get an avera as if you transgressed a mitzvah saseh, or is the shamar teaching you that if you transgress this, you're going to get a mitzvah, you're going to over a mitzvah loisaseh? So the Gemara wants to know, Lema, would you say that Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Lazar is b'Rav Oven, Amar Rabbi Ila coming palgi? They're arguing what Rabbi Oven said. Amar Rabbi Oven, Amar Rabbi Ila, Kol Mokam Shnema Hishamer Pen Ba'al. Wherever you see in the Chumash, it says Hishamer Pen or Al. Eina Ela Oises. The Torah is telling you that if you do it, you're going to get a loisese. You're going to get a lav. So Damar Islay the Rabban. Rabbi Yochanan holds that you get a lav if you wear your tefillin during the nighttime. You get a lav. He holds like Rabbi Oven. Shamar is a lav. Umar Leslie Rabbi Oven, and Rabbi Lazar does not hold of Rabbi Oven. So you only get a mitzvah saseh. You only over a mitzvah saseh. Answers the Gemara like the Kuli Alma. Everybody holds Islay the Rabban. Normally, Amar Rabbi Lod. Everybody holds whatever Rabbi Oven or Rabbi Lod said makes sense. Wherever the Torah is going to write he Shamar, be careful. The Torah is telling you that if you're going to transgress it, you're going to get a loisaseh, which is always worse than a say. So but they're arguing. Mar Saba, Hishama de lav, Hishama de aseh. Rabbi Lazar holds in the context of tefillin, the Torah is telling you, be careful to put on tefillin. So whenever it says Hishamar in the context of a mitzvah saseh, then Hishamar becomes like if you violate something, you will over a mitzvah saseh. So therefore, in the context of what the Chumash is talking about is putting on the tefillin. So even though the Torah is telling you put it on during the daytime and not the nighttime, when the Torah tells you Hishamar, it's telling you that if you're going to violate it, you're only going to be transgressing a mitzvah saseh. Umar Savar, but Rabbi Yochanan hold Hishamar daseh nami lav. Even when the Torah writes Hishamar, be very careful. Even if the context of the Chumash is talking about an aseh, you would still get a lav. So basically, it seems that they both hold you're supposed to only put on tefillin during the daytime, but they only have a machlekes that if someone's going to violate and put it on at nighttime, are you going to transgress a mitzvah saseh, or you're going to transgress a mitzvah a lois saseh? You did a big avera. So it's hard to understand. I mean, it's hard to understand if this is how strict this is, or is this a rabbanan? You have to know what the poskim say, because here the Gemara seems to say, "V'Amar Rabbi Lazar," that there are exceptions. If you put your tefillin on at night because you're afraid somebody's going to steal it, let's say you're in the airport and you're afraid somebody's going to steal it, so you want to take a nap, you or whatever it is, you're putting your tefillin on. The im l'shamran, then if you're watching your tefillin, mutter, you're allowed to put it on the night. And the Gemara continues with a story. V'Amar Ravina, Havi Asivna, Kamed Rav Yashi. I was sitting in front of Rav Ashi, the chashak, and it got dark. The hinich tefillin, he put on his tefillin. V'Amri lei, and he said, V'Amri lei, and I told him, L'shamran kabayil humar, did you put on your tefillin because you want to watch it? V'Amali, and yes, I'm putting on the tefillin. V'chazisa the daiti, but then I observed him, the lav l'shamran hubai. He wasn't really putting it on to watch it. Really, he holds that you're supposed to put the tefillin on at night. But kasavar halacha, the halacha is you put the tefillin on at nighttime. The Meirin Kane, you don't tell anybody about that. So therefore, he didn't want to tell me that the reason why he's putting on the tefillin at night is to because he wants to put tefillin on the night. He told me, he made up an excuse that Rav Ashi made an excuse that he's putting on tefillin to watch it. So it's not clear. Oma Rabba Bar Huna. Finally, we're going to end with this. Rabba Bar Huna said, a person has to feel and remind himself and not lose focus that he's wearing the tefillin. As long as it's on him, you have to make sure that it's somehow in the recesses of your mind. because kal v'chomer mitzitz. We have a kal v'chomer from the tzitz. When the Kohen Gadol wore the tzitz, matzitz ein boy al haskor achas. The Torah, in the Torah, it says kodesh l'Hashem on the headband of the Kohen Gadol. And there the Torah tells you, Amra Torah, v'hoya al mitzchay tamid. This tzitz, this headband, should be on the forehead of the Kohen Gadol constantly. Tamid means constantly, he should be aware of it. Tamid means that you're, not that it's just there. L'olam means there. Tamid means you're actively aware that you're wearing something. So the Torah tells you that although it's written one time the Shem Hashem on the tzitz, the headband, the Torah reminds the Kohen Gadol he has to always be focused. He shouldn't lose focus from it. Tefillin, the tefillin, sheyesh ba'askaras harba, it says yud kei vav kei many times in the tefillin on your head and on your arm. Alachas kama kama. Certainly, you have to always remember that it's on you. It means you could be doing other things, but it has to be like sort of like in your, I don't know, subconscious or the quiet conscience of your mind that it's there. But that's the point that you learn from the tzitz. Okay, we'll stop right here, and so ends the daf.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, get the nacht, everybody.
Have a good evening.